Welcome back to the most unprofessional sports channel on YouTube. Welcome back to Swivel Chair Sports. I'm your host, Zach Zuckerberg Burkle, here with my co-host today, Aaron and Joe. Go and say hi, guys.
And
Alright, please make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy our content. Other than that, let's go ahead and get into it. So, in this video, we're taking a look at how the San Francisco 49ers made it to Super Bowl 58. Just kind of taking a look back at their season and what all we know we've kind of seen from them throughout the year. I guess I'll kind of start off with you, Joe. Obviously, the Niners started off hot, one of the best teams in the league, both offensively and defensively. Ran into a couple of roadblocks throughout, or obstacles, I guess, throughout the season in the forms of like the Baltimore Ravens lost an ugly one to the Cleveland Browns off a missed field goal. What is kind of just initially to start off? What was kind of your What's kind of your thoughts of how the Niners season has progressed from opening day to now? Because I feel like you could say that they're getting worse. They've gotten worse throughout the year, but you could also say that they've gotten better because they're able to win these close games now that Brock Purdy's proven to be able to do the last 2 weeks. Where do you kind of line up on that?
it started off hot. It reminded me a lot of the Eagles. Like, we all know the
Yeah.
Eagles, what happened to them at the end of this season. So, like, the Niners kind of felt like that. Not as drastic, obviously, but I think a lot of it, too, was I don't think they were as healthy as they would have wanted to be the last couple weeks of the season either, compared to, like, last year's regular season where they just ran through any and everyone. Last year, it seemed like didn't matter the week. So, yeah, in that instance, in that sense, I can see what you mean by like they've gotten worse. My big thing is the defense. The defense is what seems like took the biggest step back.
Right.
Beginning of the year, felt like you couldn't get more than 2 touchdowns on them, and that was on a great game by your offense. It was more like a touchdown and some field goals, 15 or less usually. But I don't know, getting Chase Young at the time felt like, man, just give him the Super Bowl kind
Right.
of feeling with a superstar like that. He's still good. I'm not saying he's not, but then the impact hasn't seemed as great. The defense gives up a lot of yards. That was shown in the playoffs, especially against Detroit, which Detroit should be the team, if they didn't mess up, should be the team playing you guys.
Yeah, that's true.
So, yeah, but I think, like, you go mid-season, everyone would have said Chiefs, Niners, probably would still be the same. Most people want the Niners, probably would be picking the Niners more confidently, though. For this game, I think going into it now, it's like, hey, the Chiefs are still the Chiefs. They keep proving everybody wrong. They're here again. And the Niners is like, yeah, we're getting the Niners that are going to feel like you can never move the ball against them, and they score at will and run it down your throat for 4 quarters? Or are we going to get the Niners that showed up against Detroit? And I guarantee if that happens against you guys, what they did with Detroit, you guys aren't letting that lead up. So,
Yeah.
it's gonna, that's how they've been up and down all year and have gradually gone down, it seems like.
Yeah, I would agree. Like you said, mainly on the defensive end, and I think a lot of it also does, like you said, have to do with the injuries. You mentioned an interesting point that I kind of had. I think I may have mentioned it last week, Aaron. The whole Chase Young experiment hasn't really worked out in San Francisco like I think we all imagined it would. Some people, a lot of people, I would even say, are saying that Chase Young's more likely than not going to be returning next year. Will be playing somewhere else. What's kind of your thoughts on the whole Chase Young situation and how? Do you have any idea why it may have dissolved? Like the relationship had just dissolved so rapidly? Because I mean, he's only been there for what 6, 7 weeks, maybe, maybe like, and all of a sudden it seems like that relationship may be irreparable.
I think maybe part of that is fan base overreaction.
Very true.
I think that maybe the 49ers looked at it as like, a loan type of thing where they weren't expecting to bring him in next season. That a guy with that they're expecting to probably get a fairly sizable contract. Um,
That is true.
Despite maybe some effort issues that the fan base complained about and that were kind of put out there and put him on blast against the Lions there that last week. Um, Saying that he's kind of a front runner and he really only tries when they're winning. Um, I don't necessarily agree with that. The Commanders have not had a lot of success recently, and I don't mean this to be a shot at the Commanders, but when you play for a losing organization, maybe some of that edge, gets worn down a little bit. you know, Try as hard. You've been there. Oh, here we go again. We're getting our asses kicked. So, um, maybe that was a little bit part of it, but um, I don't know. I think I would lean more towards it. They looked at it as kind of a rest of the season loan and not necessarily looking to bring him back next season.
Yeah, and you're probably right in saying that. Obviously, they've got such a plethora of talent over there that there's no way that they had any thoughts that they would bring even the majority of those guys back. Because a lot of those dudes are probably gone next year. The ones that are up for contracts, obviously, the ones that aren't are probably sticking around. But that kind of makes me wonder, do you guys kind of think that this, and I know we've said this with the Ravens and the Bills earlier this year and the Cowboys, which the Cowboys is kind of justified, the Bills might also be justified. Um, is this a year where if the Niners don't win this year, is it kind of like they're going to be in trouble? Like this was the year to win it? Because we've said that about so many teams this year. I feel like you could also kind of say that about this Niners team because of, like I said, the plethora of talent that you're not going to be able to re-sign everybody.
I'd say
Um,
so.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Aaron. You can explain.
I don't know that I necessarily agree. I mean, they're gonna have their quarterback who's solid. Um, it's not like they draft bad. Lynch is Lynch and Shanahan. They bring in good talent, so it's not like they don't know how to draft and they're just getting lucky on some of these picks and they're getting good free agents. Obviously, they brought in CMC with a trade, I believe. So they're doing everything right. It's just not quite made it over the hump yet. Um, I still think the AFC is far and away the toughest, you know,
Between the two conferences.
conference.
Yeah.
So all it takes really is one season. You know, we saw it this year with the Bengals. If Joe Burrow gets hurt, then um, you know, God forbid Mahomes gets hurt, then AFC's wide open. Who knows who you face in the Super Bowl? So I think the road is a lot easier in the NFC right now. Um, so I wouldn't say this is necessarily make or break for them. They've got their quarterback for the foreseeable future. So
That's
um,
fair.
the Eagles, who everybody kind of thought would be their toughest competition, they're kind of on the rocks this year with their end of season collapse. Um, Lions seem to be on the up and up. Packers seem to be on the up and up. So those are really the only other two, top contending teams that I could see fighting with them. Whereas the AFC, you've got Ravens, Bengals, Steelers, Bills, Dolphins, Chiefs. So you got all these um, big name teams that are really competing for the Super Bowl in the AFC, and I don't think you necessarily see that in the NFC.
Yeah, that's a good
I
point.
appreciate you throwing the Steelers in there. We don't deserve to be mentioned in that sense.
Hey, you're a
Uh,
playoff team. You're
I
playoff team this year.
appreciate you for saying that. We don't deserve to be in that conversation. So yeah.
You're USC next year. Different year.
Mike Tomlin puts you
Hell
in the
no.
category by default. That's all. When you never have a losing season, I
Yeah.
think you're
Yeah, respect to the
considered.
goat.
Yeah. Yeah. No, for real. Mike Tomlin's been the same. But yeah, I mean, I get where you're coming from. It's hard for me not to look at it as like everybody's kind of on a, which I mean I guess duh, everyone's on a timer to win a Super Bowl because like that's just how pro sports are. Everyone's it's TikTok till you win a title, right? Um, but it feels like with the how many of these guys are you really going to be able to sign back? I guess that's my biggest issue. Is like yeah you got Brock Purdy for like Brock Purdy not for now. You have Brock Purdy for the foreseeable future, but here in about 2 years, he's going to be starting to make $50 million, whatever it may be. So at that point, you're going to have to start affording. You're going to have to be willing to lose some, Drake Greenlaws, some Fred Warners, some Eric Armsteads, some Travarius Wards. Those big key pieces of the defense, for instance. That makes the Niners such a scary team, I feel like. I think their defense goes underrated because of how good that offense can be, especially with, a quarterback with Brock Purdy's talents, not just a Jimmy Garoppolo who's just, kind of there. I don't know. I find it hard to believe that they're going to be able to bring back enough key pieces to remain competitive. Probably, but contender, I think, is kind of where you start to maybe question whether or not they're on that level. Maybe they are more on like the Steelers level, where they're making the playoff consistently, but they just can't ever get over that hump. In recent years,
Seems like an unfair shot of the Steelers, but
well, I mean, it's just they make the playoffs. They make the playoffs every year. They make the playoffs. You can say that about them, can't you?
yeah.
But no, and I think the Niners, well, like you said, with the weakness of the NFC, they'll make the playoffs. But once once Purdy's contract hits, once those other contracts come up, I think they're going to be more of a consistent first, second round exit. But I could be wrong. I could easily be wrong.
So this comes back to you having no faith in Brock Purdy.
Somehow, I guess. I think more so. I think more so. Kind of like you have what is it? An unnecessarily a vendetta against the Lions. That's me with the Niners. For whatever reason, I just don't like the Niners.
I mean, I don't like the Niners either, but
I used to appreciate what they did for us with Alex Smith and Joe Montana. Choosing to give us sloppy seconds, but they were the better quarterbacks of the options that they had both times. So, no offense to Steve Young, but Joe Montana's just better.
Led to anything for us.
Yeah, some playoff appearances, AFC Championship appearances, but a mentor for Patrick Mahomes. But yeah, so I used to like the Niners, but for whatever reason, I've just turned on them in the last few years. I think it goes back to the 2020 Super Bowl. It was a bad 2019.
They're dirty gold diggers.
Good. That's hey. He said the thing, guys. He said the thing. But yeah, I mean, I think it should be a good game. Niners should come out, make it competitive. I do think we all three do have the Chiefs winning, just for whatever's sake. But we do all think it'll be a close game. We don't think it's going to be a blowout by any means. It should come down to the wire. Niners are a great team. Probably the best team in the NFC, hands down, this year. I don't think you could really argue that. But yeah, unless y'all got anything else, I think that'll
The
do
only
it.
thing is it's hard for just to go back real quick.
Yeah, you're
I
good.
feel like the thing is they have their core guys are the ones that are under long-term contracts already.
That's
Fred Warner's already there for a couple of years. Kittle's still gonna be there. McCaffrey came in with his contract. Like that makes me believe that they have a chance. But the reason I call it a do or die is just simply off the fact that we saw what happened with the Eagles this year.
yeah.
And it is special to be back in the Super Bowl. Sure, the Patriots made it look like it was no big deal. Sure, the Chiefs have made it the past 5 years, make it look like it's no big freaking deal. Like, oh yeah, we've been here before. We'll get back. But like outside of that, like realistically, you look back at throughout the rest of history for the NFL, there's not many teams that can say that. You get there, man. Teams will go a decade before they get back.
I
Like,
will say,
it kind of makes it make or break for you because
hey, that
they're lucky enough to be back here again.
that just makes the Buffalo Bills more impressive. You know, to go back, make it to 4 straight Super Bowls, and have the strength to lose all 4 of them.
Now let's just simmer
all.
down here. Trying to rile up an entire fan base for no reason.
I'm not going at that. I'm not taking that. We like the Bills Mafia around here, okay?
Of
We
this
like
man.
Bills Mafia.
Hey, I think they would appreciate the fact that we consider them rivals, you know? I think they appreciate that.
So
I
much
don't know why it's considered a rivalry,
You're
but
like we're so much better than the little Buffalo Bills talking down on
We are!
not even our little brother, our little cousin.
They-
Yeah, get out of the way.
Yeah, our little step cousin from our uncle's, you know, new 20-year-old wife that he met in Shanghai. That's who,
Very rude of you.
that's who they are to us, you know. But I just had to throw that in there. I'm
get
sorry.
ready for those comments. Get ready for the
Oh.
Bills Mafia to
Oh
come.
boy.
That's if they cared enough to watch this long. And if you cared enough to watch this long, we appreciate you. And make sure to take a look down there. Think about liking, subscribing, whatever suits your fancy. But other than that, I think that'll do it for this episode of the most unprofessional sports channel on YouTube, Swimchair Sports. I'm your host, Zach Circle Mark Burkle. Here with my co-host Aaron and Joe. Go ahead and say bye, guys.
Bye.
All right. Please make sure to like and subscribe. Deuces.